Welcome back to the channel. My name is Adam Smith, and inside this GameFound previous series, looking forward to showing you guys Spellrift Legends, coming from Dragori Games. This one lands on GameFound in the very near future. If you want to find the exact date of the campaign and the campaign page link, I've got you covered in the pinned comment and video description. Now, the purpose of this video is to show you how this game gets set up to the table. I'll be taking you through all the steps in this video of this prototype for Spellrift Legends. So again, everything here is subject to change and not in its final form. Now, if you haven't had a chance to check out my prototype unboxing, I definitely recommend you do, as it'll show you all the components that came as part of the prototype, even if it doesn't show up in this video or in future gameplay videos. And be sure to stay tuned to the channel and subscribe if you haven't already, as I'll be dropping gameplay videos leading up to the campaign launch. So without further ado, let's get into the very first step of setup, and that's going to be all around the game board. Now, this tile right here in the center of the game board is known as the Spellrift tile itself, and you'll see a number of connection points labeled 1 through 8 all the way around it. Now we grab the world tiles, and these are the tiles which will be around the Spellrift tile, and you're going to randomly shuffle these up and then place them around the Spellrift tile. It's worth mentioning in the final version, there'll be an A and B side. In the prototype, there's just one side, so we simply just shuffle them up, but in the final version, you'll choose which side you're going to use, A or B first, before shuffling and placing them around the Spellrift tile. With the first 4 in position, let's do the last 4 and complete the circle. Now, each of these worlds have a separate deck of cards we'll set up in just a moment, but before we do, let's take a closer look at one of these worlds. Each world has 4 locations, and they're outlined with a circle, and you'll also see A, B, C, and D inside of them, the roads you can traverse between those different locations, and you can also go through these different connections between worlds to get to another location in a different world. Each world has its own set of world cards, and you'll shuffle these up and place them next to the world that they correspond to. In this case, the Dwarven world, which is way up there in position 1. And you'll do this for all the rest of the world decks. All the world decks have now been set up. There is one world deck that corresponds to the Spellrift tile in the center of the game board. I'll place this off to the side for now. We'll be placing up in the top left with other decks in the future. The next step of setup is all around choosing the boss. In the prototype, there's only one, but in the final version, there'll be multiple to choose from. This boss is called the Eye of Nothingness, and as you'll see at the very top of the boss dashboard, it says front side, so make sure that side is face up. There is a back side as well. We'll talk more about how it flips over in the future. Above that is the Doom track. You're going to use the Doom ring across the top row, and the second row will use the Doom marker. Every boss brings a unique flair to the experience, and you'll see the starting instructions across the top per whether you're playing with 1 character, 2, 3, 4, or 5. We'll be going true solo, so we'll be paying attention to the top row, but not just yet. We'll cover that section a little later on. For now, we're just going to set the Doom per that top row for 1 and 2 players to add 12 Doom to the Doom track. And it's as easy as placing the ring on the 10 and the marker on the 2. Now we'll set up the boss event deck. When creating the boss deck, you'll simply take a look at the back of the cards to make sure you have all the cards for the boss. The illustration should match the boss card. Once you have that deck for the boss, you'll then break it into 3 separate decks. You can see here we have Basic, Advanced, and Endgame. You're going to randomly take 3 out of each of these decks and stage them. Start with the endgame card deck, which is red, and draw 3 randomly face down on the table. Then place the rest back in the game box. Then go for the green, which is advanced, and draw 3 randomly, placing them on top. And last but not least, go for the basic deck, shuffling them up and drawing 3 randomly and placing them on top, and you've now staged the boss deck. The deck will sit next to the boss's dashboard, and again, make sure when you stage the deck, you don't shuffle after you stage it. There should be 3 basic, then 3 advanced, then 3 endgame from top to bottom in this deck. And the rest of the cards you don't use go back to the game box. It's also worth mentioning that each boss has 15 cards. You'll be using just 9 of them every single time you play, so there's definitely replayability and variation in how the boss acts and behaves in subsequent plays. Step number 3 is all about selecting your difficulty, and by default, it's normal, but if you wish to change it, you can change it down to easy or up to hard, and even worse than that, nightmare. Now it's time to choose our heroes, and as I'm playing just true solo with 1 character, I'll be selecting one of these 3. Here are the 3 options that I have. This individual here, a swordsman, we have a shield maiden, and finally, we have Hercules, and I'm absolutely going to go with Hercules. I think it'll be a great choice for true solo. Once you know which hero you're controlling, now grab the miniature for that hero, as well as a yellow cube for your legend points. On this column here, it'll start in the 0 position, and then a red cube to denote your health, which will start at 20. Next, find your hero's deck of cards, which will match the same artwork on the dashboard. And from that same deck of cards, you're going to find all cards that have the starter keyword at the very bottom of the card. There'll be a total of 10 of them. Shuffle them up. It's your personal deck to start things off. With your starter deck now shuffled and placed next to your hero dashboard, the rest of the cards, which are known as upgrades, run through commons, uncommons, and rares within this deck. You're going to make sure to shuffle these upgrade cards, and that will make a deck that allow you to level up through gameplay. Just place this off to the side until the time that leveling up occurs, which happens when you gain 6 XP. Now find the 3 secret objective cards for your hero and just place them nearby. We'll be selecting one of these 3 as we get closer to gameplay. The next major step is all around preparing the remaining decks of cards and tokens. We'll start things off with the Quest deck and the Void Rift deck. Both of these decks are independently shuffled and placed nearby. You can see both of them here. With the item deck now shuffled and placed, as well as the condition decks all spread out based on the different types, we have Inspired, Focused, Fortified, Blessed, and Quickened. And it's worth mentioning that each of these condition cards have a positive side, and then if you flip it over to the other side, a negative side. So for example, if you have Blessed, on the opposite side, you have Cursed. Now find the Void Rift token as well as the Despair tokens, shuffle them face down so you don't know what's going on underneath, and stack them up. So each one of the Despair tokens should have the skull side facing up, and each one of the Rift tokens should be Rift side face up. Now, as you'll remember earlier in the video, we created world decks that were for each and every world tile that goes around the Spellrift tile. The Spellrift tile, though, has its own Spellrift world deck. So this deck is now going to be placed off to the side. I'll keep it over where the conditions are, as it doesn't make too much sense to place it anywhere near the Spellrift tile. The final 2 decks relate directly to the enemy. We have the Monster card deck, which will be shuffled up and placed just above the Doom track, and the Elite Monster deck, which will also be shuffled up and placed above the Doom track. Additional tokens I placed inside of game trays. The game trays themselves are not part of the prototype or the final version, but they definitely come in handy for storage. So we have things to store things for quest tokens, for instance, enemy tokens, XP tokens or cubes up there in white. So whenever we get XP, we'll be taking one of those. And these are going to allow for markers across the game state as we get into gameplay. Now this is the Monster HP track. You also use Monster tokens on the track to denote the health of the enemies as you battle them throughout the game. There's also Monster Intent dice as well. For now, the Monster HP tokens and the Intent dice for the monsters can just sit off to the right. And we need some basic D8s for the heroes to use for tests as well as combat. The next major step of setup is around scaling the player count. So again, depending on how many heroes are in play, for me, true solo, just 1 hero, I'm taking a look at the boss card to see exactly what else I need to set up. We've already gone ahead and added 12 to the Doom, but there's a few other things to do right now. So in just a moment, we'll be drawing 2 Void Rift tokens. We can see this by the 2, and you can see the Void symbol right next to it. In brackets, though, it says 2 and 7, and those are the worlds that the 2 Voids are going to show up in. Now, as you remember from the beginning of the video, each of the worlds in the game around the Spellrift tile have a number associated to them. So we know when we pull these Void Rift tokens off the top of this, 2 of them, the first one is going to go to world number 2, which is going to be this one over here called the Ancient World. And then the next one is going to go to 7, which is over here, the Elven World. So now we draw a token for world number 2 to see what location it's going to be at. It's going to be at location B. Now it's time to draw the next Void Rift token and find out where it's going to land inside the Elven World. It'll be at D. Now, as you like to remember on the boss card, right after the 2 rifts was a single monster icon. And what that means is you start from world 1, work your way around looking for any rift tokens, and you'll spawn a monster card at each of them. So we'll have 1 monster card for this rift we have in world 2, and 1 over here for world 7. So for world number 2, the monster that's going to be coming in, and it's worth mentioning that when we draw these cards for the setup instructions of the boss card, if we happen to land any of the 3 titled ones, which are not monsters, but actually more so events that are inside the monster card deck, we just ignore those and continue going until we find actual monsters. So go ahead with the top card off the deck, see what it is, and it ends up actually being one of those event style cards. So it's called March of Darkness. This is one of the 3 that we would ignore during the setup. We continue looking for a monster card, and we found one. There is going to be 1 of these void enemies coming in, and you'll see the location on it is going to be B. So that void monster actually ends up spawning in the same space as the Rift token, which is unfortunate for us, but it is what it is. Let's continue on with the next monster spawn happening in world number 7, the Elven World, another March of Darkness. We're going to go ahead and put that off to the side for now. We'll shuffle these back in after we've set things up. We got the Corrupted coming in. There's going to be 3 of them going into the Elven World, and they're going to be on location D. And that also happens to be the same location as the Rift token over here as well, so 3 of them coming in. That'll do it for the monster spawns. All of this tied to the boss's initial setup instructions. So again, dependent on the boss that you're playing. There'll be some bosses in the final version you use which will actually be using these despair tokens that'll be placed out at the beginning of the game as well. In this case, for this boss, it's not happening, but there is one more thing to do that the boss card stated, and that was to draw 1 quest. So here's a quest card off the top of the quest deck in the top left-hand corner, and we have Stormglass Lens. It's going to be occurring in world number 2. It says, during a Void Tempest, a critical lens from one of the Spellrift's warding pylons was lost. Rumors say a plane-traveling merchant in a distant realm now possesses it. And we have to complete this, and if we successfully do, we have a pass scenario down there with some XP tied in. We can, of course, fail this, and the fail result is shown below as well. When you get a quest, you already know what world it's going to be inside of. In this case, it's going to be 2, which is going to be in the same world as my monster from the Void in the Ancient World to the right, but we don't know what location it's in just yet, so you're going to take these quest tokens that relate to the same color, and you're going to shuffle them around, and you're going to draw one up, and it will reveal one of the locations. It's going to be at A. So the Stormglass Lens quest can be found at location A in World 2. So we'll go ahead and place the corresponding token there. We know it was A, so we're placing the opposite side with the question mark. Just to remind yourself there is a quest available here. And again, that also helps you tie back to the quest card. And now for the final steps of setup, and that is going to be around your character for the first player marker, which does not matter when you're playing true solo with one character, so you can just leave that token inside the box. But something that does matter is your secret objectives. With your 3 secret objectives in hand, you can flip them over and take a look as you choose one of them to go after. You can choose to conjure the beast, you could bear the heavens, or you could obey the oracle. Now you'll want to focus on the objective in the center of the card to see what is actually feasible. So you can see Conquer the Beast is a good one for me because 3 times I have to defeat an enemy group on a green forest or black swamp tile. I currently have a group of enemies on a green forest tile, but I'd have to do it 3 times to complete that one, but at least I'd be 1/3 of the way. The next one here has an objective that says 3 times you have to obtain a 3 or more successes on one strength, or on a strength test, I should say. And you have to do that 3 times in order to complete that one. So that's potentially possible as well. And then this one here says 3 times you have to just complete a quest. This might be the most straightforward one of all of them, but you'll see the bonus at the very bottom for completing each one. So you can kind of gravitate to whichever one you think is going to be the most useful for you. Honestly, they're all tempting. I'm going to choose to obey the oracle. The oracle spoke not of glory, but of trials. He did not hesitate, for Hercules knew Zeus was watching, and he would not dare disappoint his father. And last but certainly not least, we'll place our hero miniature in the Spellrift tile in location A. And that is going to wrap up the setup video for Spellrift Legends, coming from Dragori Games, landing on GameFound in the very near future. If you want to find the exact date and the campaign page link in the pinned comment and video description is where you will find it. Let me know in the comments down below if you enjoyed what you saw. Give the video a like if this was helpful in showing you how the game gets to the table. And stay tuned and subscribe to the channel if you want to see this thing in action to help you make an informed decision on it. And as always, my friends, keep on rolling solo.